Zachary Carlson today with Redox Bionutrients. So we'll try not to sell you too many products today,
Nope.
but
Nope.
no, we were having a lot of good conversation there in my
Yes, we were.
office. Maybe that's where maybe that should be our new
I think it should.
recording studio.
That's where all the free juices come out of.
Yeah.
Just good ideas. At least
Oh
conversations.
yeah.
That's
No,
where it all starts.
absolutely. But I think we we talked about a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
but one thing that I thought was you know that you put very well in our conversations was, kind of that the difference of, okay, guys have applied nitrogen for so long and fungicides for so long with good results.
Mm-hmm.
So, we understand, the hesitancy to move away from some of those things we've seen work for so many years. But at the same time, we're kind of faced with this. Well, I feel like my farm's hit a plateau.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the good thing, I guess, if there's a bright spot in ag right now, is that there's a lot of different companies out there really looking to bring better products, better formulations, different modes of actions in the herbicide and fungicide
Mm-hmm.
world, different ways to get the plant balanced internally from a plant charge balance, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
what I kind of
Yeah.
want you to talk about a little bit today. The tech side, we were talking about drones. So there's a lot of different things, good things, helping move ag forward. And instead of getting just stuck and kind of bogged down in that, our farm's been, we've plateaued on yield.
Mm-hmm.
Um, really, and we'll show this on the screen, but if you look at it from a 70-year time frame, it's like we're on a very sharp up curve still from a yield standpoint.
45 degrees.
So yeah, there's a lot of positives in ag that I think kind of get overlooked. So tell me a little bit about Redox and kind of what your products specifically do.
Yeah. So Redox has been it's a company out of Burley, Idaho. 32 years in business. Started in the specialty markets over in that California kind of West Coast region. So anything from onions to carrots to watermelons, grapes were the first ones that they started out in. And kind of the path they took by the founder Darren Moon, and then John Kelly kind of came a little bit after him, but very soon. Just wanted to look at crops as more of how do they deal with energy? How do they deal with their environment? How do they deal with all of the different things that are tossed at them? And how do they interact with soil? And progressing them forward into making it healthier. So the more that we've been doing in agriculture has really reduced the nutrient content of them. It's quicker to market, but it's not necessarily the most nutritious. You have a strawberry that's over in California and you have a strawberry here in the Midwest, they're going to taste a hell of a lot different. And I think that's just how um, movement of products as commodities get moved around, but then how we're treating them. Here in the Midwest, we're trying to produce as much as we can. And over in kind of West Coast, East Coast, they're more of centralized to those marketplaces. They don't have to go as far. So, nutrient content is extremely important, and just trying to treat the crop like you would want to be treated. I mean, we don't sit down and actually have a gallon of ice cream and feel very good. So why would we do the same thing to all of our crops by sending all of these synthetics into the marketplace into these cultivars, and then expect anything different? So that is where Redox came in, of Darren Moon just looking at things kind of scientifically and saying, okay, what are some other things that I can measure? And redox potential was one of them. So that's a scientific measurement that can be taken by actually millivolts and pH of the actual crop. Then we can apply a redox potential to it. So positive and negative. It's just a numbers factor at this point. How balanced is that crop on the positive and negative ions or electrical charge that's in these plants? It wants to find balance.
What
If it
happens when it's out of balance?
What happens when it's out of balance is it has to deal with that balance. It has to go out and look for the opposite charge. If it's too negatively charged, it's going to try and find, hey, potassium. It wants to bring up potassium at that point. So if we don't have it there, then it goes into a stress mode, and then we start degrading some of our yield potentials.
See, this is what's cool, I think, about the specialty crop or, tomatoes. And I mean, obviously, the whole buzz around the Maha movement now is,
Mm-hmm.
how can we get more nutritious food? And I think there's definitely some realness to that our food has become less nutritious. And I mean, I think that's why a lot of people have their own garden. It's
Absolutely.
like that tomato, and we've noticed it in the last couple of years. It's like that tomato tastes better out of my garden instead of just a red circle of water. There's
Yeah.
some of the store bought tomatoes. So there's definitely something there. I guess my question to you though, is there room for that when you're growing number two corn like we are in Northeast Colorado? Is there room to have this more balanced plant, maybe a more healthy nutritiously, but at the end of the day, a grower is paid on pounds. How do you I guess kind of defend that a little bit? How do you get out of that mindset?
It's not easy. I'll say that right off the first part. It's not something we can do in a year. I think we've gotten to the point where we've accepted that pounds pays, but I also think that we want to get back to where we were, where homegrown stuff. I mean, you said it right there. Farm stands are where everybody wants to go because it came from the spot that they were. Now we've become so commoditized because of a global market when it comes to corn, soybeans, wheat, whatever, that it's all about how much we can get paid back. And that's still a factor. Economics is still a factor in this. I don't want to say that it's not. But I also want to say that if we can make the entire system work better, as in more nutritious food, it's not like we're necessarily taking all of our corn or field corn and putting it into human, side. But maybe sweet corn. Maybe make sweet corn a heck of a lot more nutrient dense. Maybe that becomes a market that we start growing and doing a lot more things with. But we still have to deal with the economics of it.
Right. But I mean, really, with no equipment changes, there's a lot of different things guys can do to find specialty markets and get paid better for them. I mean, we've seen that just within an hour here. I mean, there's a lot of blue corn and purple
Mm-hmm.
corn you get in that McCook area. And then here, I mean, we have several guys in the county that will grow popcorn. So it's
Yes.
like it really is, you know, how much do I want to get out of my comfort zone and get out of that kind of that old mindset of like number two corn is king. Like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stick with that. And really finding a good balance for the business side of your farm. It's like maybe if I don't like the price of corn, we all can do something about it. We can not grow corn. Unfortunately, I think we're kind of the point where corn is going to be what it's going to be. And there's, you look at what's happening globally as far as number two corn, and it's like all these other areas where we're exporting are becoming self sufficient or trying to become self sufficient. So then what happens to corn? It's like maybe we do need, just from a purely business mindset, be looking at other ways we can differentiate ourselves in the market. And I mean, you see it with grass fed beef, you see it with organics, you see it with non GMO. I don't care if you agree with it or not. Frankly, I disagree with a lot of the things they say, but if they're going to pay me more for it, like, well, maybe that makes more sense for my farm.
Just diversification. Just finding out markets that you can take your produced product to and make more money doing it with maybe a little bit less headache. Because now you're dealing with number two corn, and that's a global market. But you hit on something that was very important. Everyone else is going at a faster clip than us. We can outproduce them, but for how long? Then we become kind of behind the eight ball. We need to figure out where this next generation of agriculture is going to go. And I think diversification is exactly where it has to go.
Well, and there's a lot of in ag talk radio shows and podcasts. Like that's a big subject right now. It's are these other places going to be able to put in the awesome infrastructure the United States has to, okay, maybe they can grow it, but can they store it? Can they haul it? Can they get it to distribution through Walmarts or Targets or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, wherever you're buying these whether it's closed goods or grain. I mean, there's a lot more to it, and maybe we have a little more time than what a lot of these guys think that are, that we're going to be replaced in 3 to 4 years. Maybe it's 20 years, but it still is I think, a good way where we can look at we can kind of internally look on what we're doing on our farm, on our business side and say, hey, does it make sense to gain some knowledge in maybe some other crop, or something else where I can, just de-risk my operation by not putting all my eggs in one basket.
And I think, American exceptionalism still needs to be true. We always want to excel at things. We're not quitters. But we also need to do a retrospect of looking at every operation and what can we be doing differently? How can we treat ourselves in the crops that we grow in the soil that we're based into? How can we do things differently to make sure that is profitable and it's great for future generations and for the world? Like, we need to be that leader in it right now. We're just trying to outproduce everybody at come to a cost. I mean, look at the ratio between end cost or fertilizer cost versus the cost of or the market on corn. It's the worst in the entire history.
Yeah, the true cost now to produce a bushel is more than it's ever been, and that doesn't necessarily mean the price of that bushel is higher. In fact, it's kind of inverted now to where it's you better know your break evens.
Yes. You got to go field by field. You got to go rent to own to taxes to everything. You got to put that on a spreadsheet. You got to figure out, where can I economically make this make sense? Or do I need to diversify into something else to make it make sense? And that's an uncomfortable conversation. That is generational breakdown at that point, because, my granddaddy did it. I'm doing it. My next generation wants to do it. What we want to do, and what I want to help kind of grow, and I think you do too, is like, we want agriculture to excel, and it is excelling, but it doesn't mean that the last 40 years should be thrown away, but we can't do the next 40 years like we did the last ones. Like, there is a different script we have to take, but with the learnings, what we took from the last 40 years, there are some learnings that's there.
I think that's the best way to put this mindset of we've plateaued. It's not that we've plateaued, but we've reached the peak of where we can go with the old technologies, with the old products, the old chemistries. And so with these new modes of actions, or with herbicides and fungicides, or maybe these different chelations of products or different charge balances, creating, I guess that's what makes me excited to get up and go to work every morning, is knowing that I can be a part of something truly bigger than myself, or even, my small business. It's like, how can I help push ag in the right direction, even if it is just for a couple county reach that I have.
We all have to start small, and we can't have the bystander effect. We can't just allow someone else to do it. We can't sit idly by. We need to be the loudest force into this, because when you look at it, agriculture has the most land of anybody else. We control what's going on. We can make a difference, but it has to become, hey, what can I do on my farm because it's meaningful to me and also my neighbor? Like, we have to get back to that holistic view and that working together inside of this. I truly believe we have all the products that we need right now to excel agriculture. But now we have to go back to the concepts of general agronomy, agriculture. What did we learn? What did we learn that went bad? But then also, where can we go in the future? So it's not about how much more new technology can we spin up and get it fast and accelerate all this kind of stuff. And then I truly believe farmers deal with more chaos and more confusion than any other marketplace that's out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz going on around you.
It's just constant. I don't blame any of these growers, for not understanding what's going on. So what happens in chaos? You got to go back to what you can control. And what you can control is what seed you're putting in the ground, as in type, how many times you go across the field. All of these kind of different things, that's what you can control. And then we can make profitability work from there with it. That's the only way to control chaos, is go back to the beginning, back to the basics of things, and think of things as controllable versus uncontrollable.
It's time for a crop nutrition plan that gets more return from every drop. Starting with Pro Germinator from AgroLiquid, a complete phosphorus fertilizer product that includes nitrogen, potassium, and iron. More than 30 years of research shows that lower application rates of ProGerminator often outperform other sources of fertilizer. With AgroLiquid's ProGerminator, you can apply less and expect more. Find out more at agroliquid.com.
I think a lot of times, especially in ag, with a lot of these different companies, they just want to come up and say, here's my product. It works. You should really use it. And it's like, well, don't you need to know a few things about their farm or their management practices? Because that's one of the biggest things I've learned is that one product might fit on one person's management, or maybe even one field under their management. But it's very rarely is that one product going to be the right fit for absolutely everybody I ever talk to.
Yes, that's exactly right. And to kind of put a plug for Redox, that's how we talk. We want the knowledge of the farm first. Then we want to figure out where is the biggest spend that's there. Where are the economics? Or maybe logistics. Maybe I got farms spread out 75 miles and I just simply cannot get enough nitrogen on. Okay, there's an opportunity. Let's look at it as the positive side of this. Let's figure out what we can do in that situation. And it may not be with a Redox product. It may be with other things that are there. We want to be more of a consultant base, but we also have the tools that are specifically made for specific needs per crop, per farm, per operation that's there. Because at the end of the day, if one product does everything, why do we need all these? Why is there innovation at that point? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So you really have to figure out who are you going to trust, who are you going to listen to, who's going to be your best advocate for your future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I know not everybody's is into plant physiology as I am. But let's talk about that a little bit because I know you're a pretty smart guy.
No.
Did you go to UNL? Did you go to UNL?
Yeah. Oh. And I just associate myself with really smart people.
Okay. Well.
So
hey, that's
all that matters at the end of the day. See?
Absolutely.
See?
Surround yourself with smart people. What's that? I don't even know who it's credited to, but yeah, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
That's exactly right. And just be curious. But to go back to your question, I went to University of Nebraska. I did not get an agronomy degree. But I did internships in agronomy. I actually went for mechanized systems. I loved iron. And I left college with a mechanized systems management degree and an animal science minor. But I had internships with Servitech, went to Bartlett Grain. I did a lot of different things because I wanted to be the jack of all trades. I worked for a farmer right after college because I wanted to actually get real world experience. I don't know how many times I went through the university system and it was like, and I'm not knocking this side by any means, this was just what I chose and what I felt was right, is I didn't want to be somebody that designed something and then didn't know how to fix it or put something else in the way that caused me to actually have more time to fix it. Like, stop putting the oil drain plug in the wrong spot so that it drips over everything or I can't get a wrench in there. I wanted to feel what growers, farmers, either from cattle to row crop or whatever, were actually feeling day to day. That was important to me. I wanted to get my hands dirty. Mm-hmm. So I did that. And then kind of the rest is history, going through agronomy, seed sales, kind of the biological market for a little while. That was a wild ride. And finally found hopefully a forever home with Redox, just based upon the knowledge that they're instilling in me and a new way of thinking it, but it's the original way of thinking of it. Let's just think very, very simplistic on crops. They're grown in soil, and their connection piece is roots. Then we can deal with the chemical, the biological, and the physical at that point. Mm-hmm. But it all has to happen in that right there. They live in this world of weather and their environment, and they can't move. So that was a really quick synopsis of where I came from, but that was what was important to me, is to understand a lot of different factors instead of just going down one path and being an expert in that. Right. So, and I'm not knocking anybody else that's doing it, because hell, there's a lot of marketers that are really, really good at their job, and that's what they focus on, and I'm glad they're doing it. It's associate yourself with a lot of different people that have a lot of different perspectives. That's what's important.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of it comes down to, do you want to be that customer-facing person, or are you more of an introvert and you would rather have have specialized knowledge at a computer or something like that? So I think I'm probably a little bit of a mix, but I'd say more towards that. I want to get out and have conversations with people. I want to feel what they're feeling. I want to deal with what, the I want to help them solve problems that they have, and that's really hard to do from a desk. So you end up going out, walking fields with guys, and learning about the plant, and looking at how different, application timings affect nutrients in the plant, or even just the different pathways that nutrients can bilocate within the plant. Like,
or if
that's,
they,
I mean, yeah, or
if
can.
they, yeah.
So I guess back this is because I got to have a little bit of a fill. We haven't had a good plant function episode in a little while, so that's what you got to give us our fill of that now. So with Redox, so you're balancing that plant's charge.
Yeah, so as a disclaimer, I'm not an organic chemist either, and I don't ever want to be. Chemistry was one of the hardest paths or classes that I took at the university. But here's what we need to do at the basics of plants. Plants need energy. Energy comes from, obviously, amino acids, them producing it, sugars, those kind of things. They create proteins and they create growth. But they also need nutrients to do it. Those nutrients play factors in it. What we missed over, I think, the last probably 30 years, and that's what Redox has really taught me, is ourselves, any organic being, as in plants, humans, whatever, has to have redox active molecules in it. So redox oxidative substrates, that's another way of saying it. We all have them. What do? They simply are able to give off or receive an electrical charge, just an electron. So if they're overcharged with something, they're able to absorb it and then hold it for later. If not, these redox active molecules are able to give off a charge. So if they're low in something, we can give off this to give it energy to overcome a stress. That's the basis of physiology right there. That is biostimulants. That is the new and emerging market that has been there for a long time. We just haven't been talking about it because the biological market has overtook them. That was the hot topic for a long time, and it still is. I'm a true believer in biology. Absolutely, we need it. I'm not trying to discredit that. I'm just saying that when it comes down to it, you have to make sure that you're doing things right, because you might be turning a pathway on and a pathway off, and they're conflicting. When they conflict, that causes that plant or us to have to use energy to overcome it. Same as my analogy of how much ice cream I eat. The more ice cream I eat, the worse I feel, and then I sit around and I do nothing, and then I might come out of it after drinking enough water, move around a little bit, start expending some of that energy that I just pent up inside myself. That's the same thing we've been doing for agriculture. Why have we been talking nitrogen efficiency for so long is because we've been overusing nitrogen, and now we're having to deal with it. So that's the divergence in agriculture right now.
Yeah. So what is the redox active substrate?
Redox active molecules. So, yep, RAM technology is what we call it.
Okay.
Yep.
So, redox active molecule. What is that doing when that plant realizes, hey, I've got excess nitrogen, and I'm going to store it as excess nitrate in the leaf, and I'm going to have a dark green, beautiful looking leaf. But at the end of the day, you're shutting down something in that plant because it's not balanced. So, what is that RAM? What is that molecule doing that you guys discovered?
Yeah, so there's only so much RAM we can give it, and then we have to start looking at what are we way past our bell curve. Are we so far to the right on this bell curve that we need to affix that before we can just keep sending RAM into the system and try and overcome it? So when we look at, say, nitrate nitrogen, that brings in oxidative stress. That green crop is not photosynthesizing correctly, and it also has too much oxidative stress that's there. That is, just think of iron. If it sits outside for too long, that's rust. That degrades those cells or those molecules, and that breaks that down. Hence why we've seen an increase in nitrogen and an increase in fungicide uses over the years, is because those cell walls are not able to get into their secondary metabolic pathways to have defense systems. So abiotic stress defense, we've been hearing as a hot topic. That is exactly what we have been going past and not allowing it to get to. So redox active molecules are used to help pull that plant back into balance. So if it's trying to find 50-50 balance, and it's at 90, 95, 100% imbalance, there's only so much I can do with energy to get it back there to absorb that, until we need to start bringing that nitrogen usage back so that it can use the energy in these molecules to get it back into balance. So there's only so much we can do. We get over that bell curve on both sides. We have to start making actual practices to get it back there. But it has to be through metabolism of nutrients. That's the only way you find efficiencies, with nutrient metabolism. It has to utilize it. It has to absorb. It has to translocate. It has to move into the factors that it's calling for. We can't just apply and accept it that it's going to be gone.
Well, I think it's one of those tough things where it's like there's a lot of right answers, but maybe there's a couple answers that are a little more right than the other. It's like that, that old test question with multiple choice, and it's like, well, there's two right ones. You just got to click, you got to fill in the circle next to the most correct one.
Or it's D, and it's all of the above.
Yeah. Or
it's like,
yeah.
hey, I need to reduce this, I need to add this, and I need to do this, but it's not at like concentrations that are gallons and gallons and gallons. We need to move this down. We need to move this up. We need to have a better picture of what that crop wants to do at that point. We've been over applying for too many years, and increasing concentrations that we've been masking issues that are there. I mean, I could go into the whole like human side of this, but
right. Well, and I don't have the resources to really do the proper testing on this, but another thing I thought of while you were talking is like, have we actually, in the newer genetics of seed, have we almost bred for the plant to know it's going to have excess nitrogen? Like, have we almost bred it to where now it needs more nitrogen actually for a bushel than what it used to?
It's possible. I'm not a geneticist on that side.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, again, another rabbit hole.
It is a rabbit hole, but it's something that we need to question. I don't think it's illogical to question something like that. I think we need to question everything. We're at the point in agriculture we need to question everything, and you might be absolutely right. We might bring ourselves back on the nitrogen cycle or the nitrogen efficiency, but then we also might keep going because we start unlocking things that we never saw before. But right now we are going in with blinders on, like they're foggy glasses. We've been fogging them up for too many years. We need to allow the crops to tell us what it wants to do. Then we can start learning a new way for it. So it's just a step back. It's not that we've been doing things wrong. It's just we need to take a step back and stop going in such an aggressive path down this road so quickly.
Right. Well, and just the old idea of, well, it worked once. It's going to work again. And I'm kind of using that as, I think there's a lot of farmers all across the country, that kind of view nitrogen that way. It's like, well, a little more is better. Or they're like, not my corn's not the dark green color I want it to be, so I'm going to add a little bit more nitrogen. When it could be a sulfur deficiency, or it could be, it could be a multitude of different things. And that's definitely somewhere I feel like we're maybe fortunate in my area. When I look around Yuma County and the farmers I get to work with, and it's not that I'd call them all progressive, but I would definitely say they understand very well that I need to be open to new things, to new products. I'm going to test it. Yeah. I think there's a lot of companies out there that almost shoot themselves in the foot because they discourage the testing because they want the quick sale. When in reality, I've seen products work one year and not the next. Doesn't mean it's a bad product. It just means we need to understand the environment that crop's in and when and what pays in that environment.
Couldn't agree more on that side. Couldn't agree more.
It's not as simple as what we all want it to be. And I've probably been guilty, I think, in my last 5 or 6 years of doing my trial meetings. And part of it's just for time's sake. But it's like, I can never really give all the information I have in a 3 or 4 hour meeting. It's like there's a lot more backstory to it, and it's not as simple as this product gives you 5 bushels every time.
No.
There's so
it's
many
not binary like that.
Yep.
It's not either on or off. It's not that you're gonna get 5 bushel on this stuff. There's too many other factors that's there. Mm-hmm. But I also wanted to hit on that. I think we overuse the word progressive too much for it. every grower is progressive. They want to progress to a different sense. It is, what is their level of desire to keep the ball rolling at their level of growth? If they have that desire, anybody can move past the whole point of agriculture that we're at. Any one of them can. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of factors, both geopolitical, national, international. They just feel like they're in a stuck state. And I think it's just confusion because it's just paralysis by analysis. They've just got so much information getting thrown at them. Where do they go? They go back to the basics. But they're also looking for the easy button. And as I tell growers quite a bit, they've pushed the easy button so many times that it doesn't make any sounds and doesn't pop up anymore. Farming and agriculture is not going to be easy anymore. Just simply is not. Because there's going to be too many global factors that are going to just hold it back down. So that creates an opportunity. Where do we need to go? Find your trusted advisors. Find the people that you trust and talk and really listen to them. Create a better relationship with them.
Well, and I think easy's somewhat relative too, though, because I think agriculture is going to be easy going forward when it comes to, I mean, we're not baking in the sun in a cabless tractor to work 40 hours, or, to work 40 acres in a day. Like, we're covering 1,000 acres if you're spraying in a day. We might be planting 300 acres in a single day out west here, where our field sizes are a little bigger.
They're a little
So,
different. Yep.
I mean, so you look, it's not that it's easy now. It's just different areas got hard.
There
And
you
I think
go.
what's hard now is navigating, one, all the noise we've talked about. And it's really, it used to be the main operator, the main decision maker at a farm. Like, they were more of an operations manager. Like, you do this, you go do this. You fix, or you change the gear oil in this pivot. You go and fix this well. You go work the back 80 or whatever it is, and now it's like they actually need to be more focused on surrounding themselves with the team, like you said earlier, of who's going to give me the best information, good reliable information, and help me test it and verify it, not just on the product side, but I mean, we're in a place in ag where this whole tech, there's this fusion of, you've got drones, you've got see and spray technology now that I've got a customer using it right now as we speak, and holy cow, this stuff's amazing, So there's parts of ag that are easy in a sense. It's just kind of it's kind of a different expertise, I think, that farmers have. We're no longer that farmer in overalls that works 100-hour weeks. Well, you still might work 100-hour weeks, but it's different. Like, there's that that old stereotype of I think I saw this somewhere, and it's like the salesman talking to a farmer. So like, well, you wouldn't understand. And it's like, well, the farmer should understand. But it's just a stereotype that, like, farmers are dumb. And I found that very much to not be the case. Actually, I think farmers are some of the most resilient people, but also the most well-versed in many different subjects. They can't just have that tunnel vision and be a perfect agronomist but they might know their way around machinery.
That's
and
right.
be a better agronomist than a lot of professional agronomists out there too. So it's like they're kind of that jack of all trades.
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, Swiss Army knife.
All the things that we've always said.
Put it than
Yeah.
jack of all trades.
Yeah.
It's like they're good at a lot of different things, and they have to be now. It's not easy.
And they're not going to be great at everything. No one is great at everything, and it's okay. I also think that the world views farmers as the ones in the overall sitting at capitalist tractors and planting 400 acres for an operation. Like, look at East Coast, West Coast. They don't have a clue where their food comes from. Yeah. And I hate that for growers, because we are making strides in the right directions. They're just utilizing growers as a scapegoat for a lot of their issues that they think they're important, and then just compartmentalizing all of these different things and saying, oh, we'll just go after these guys. That's not right anymore. Right. I mean, we're not actively trying to screw the world up. We're actively trying to fix it. And we are the catalyst for change. I mean, we're feeding the world, but we're also doing it in a way that has such bright lights on us right now. And that gives us an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity. It's a challenge. It's obviously a challenge, but it's an opportunity also.
Yeah, no, it is a great opportunity. I think that's definitely the right way to view it if you want to not be all doom and gloom.
There's plenty of that around.
Yeah, there's plenty of that.
There's plenty of that around. We have to stay as positive as possible. I mean, there's hard days for me to wake up too. It's hard days. They have a day that's hard every single day, and they're trying to do the best that they can with the time that they found. And efficiency is where you got to get it. Right. Agronomically, business-wise, the assets and liability spreadsheet, just the balance sheet. That's got to be the most difficult thing to do these days. So, us as service providers and as hopefully thought leaders, hopefully farmers look at it as thought leaders, we need to come to their table and be as positive as possible and give them potential solutions. I'm not going to say that I know their operation. I'm just going to say the information that they gave me, here's what I would do. And just present it in a way of saying, hey, this is an option. Go to talk to someone else too. I want you to get as many options as possible through the time that you have and create a plan. And then go execute on the plan.
And track results.
Yes.
We've definitely echoed that many times on this podcast. But that's know what works in the good years, so you know what not to cut in the bad years or in the tougher economic years.
That's right. Yeah, and especially in your area here, it's not going to be the same as it is in central Nebraska. Yeah. There might be similarities, but there's not exacts. And it sure is not going to happen in the I-states. Those is a completely different arena that you're playing in. So it's okay that you're not doing that. You're doing great out here. You guys are doing fantastic. Is there still room for opportunities? Absolutely. But take a step back and just realize where you came from, because I think that's a good thing to just say, hey, we have really moved this in the right direction. And through your help, through your growers' help, through just the community, everybody comes in together as a community and we say, hey, let's be positive, and all this other stuff that's going on. Right.
Next Gen Fertilizers is introducing Seedlink, the game-changing planter box product that's revolutionizing corn planter box products. Seedlink delivers uniform emergence like never before, so every seed gets the perfect start. It's packed with phosphorus, humic and fulvic acids, amino acids, and beneficial biology. And the best part, Seedlink is half the cost of most of the other competitive products, even with more in it. We're not just applying biology here, we're actually applying biology with a food source. Use Seedlink on your corn today and get better emergence, better results, and all for a better price. I want to talk about RDXN a little bit. Specifically, how the RAM technology works with nitrogen. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier. Can you go in a little more?
Yeah. Yeah. So RDXN has a lot of buzz, mostly because we're talking about it. Mm-hmm. And we talk about RAM technology quite a bit. RAM technology is in every one of our products because it comes from the biostimulant side. What RDXN brings to the table, though, is an enzyme that is able to change or turn on, I should not say change, I should say turn on, an internal genetic trigger inside of every crop. What it does is it helps with the nitrate reductase enzyme. Turns that on, and it's able to metabolize and assimilate nitrogen units more efficiently. So there's the key, metabolism. If you can metabolize nutrients or nitrogen better, you don't need as much for it. So RDXN was formulated to be soil-based with a nitrogen source. I'm not saying we can grow without nitrogen. We need nitrogen to grow crops. But what we can do is utilize every unit of nitrogen as more of a multiplier. So 1 unit might turn into 2. It might turn into 1.5. It might turn into 1.3. We are multiplying those units of nitrogen so that we don't have to apply as much. but every situation is different. Maybe I manured that field for 6 years intensively. Maybe I need to allow it to rest. Maybe I need to get the organic nitrogen to start releasing and getting into that plant more. There's all these holistic views, or not holistic views, but all of this kind of situational views that we got to take. But RDXN is able to reduce nitrogen toxicity, or just units inside of there, to increase the ability to look at that crop differently, allow it to show us what it's actually doing, but then also B, just reduce concentrations, because 80% of charge imbalance, plant charge balance, or the imbalance of it in a crop, comes from excess nitrogen. So that's when I go back to, if we can reduce some of that, we get a clearer picture of what this crop is wanting to do. And we're always deficient in potassium.
Yeah. Well, and it's not necessarily that it didn't need that nitrogen. It's just that it wasn't able to efficiently metabolize it.
It had to deal with
or
it first.
Use it. Yeah. And I think that's something. I'm doing some trials with Agrimotus this year. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but no. So it's actually it's a new form of stock and tissue. Well, it's basically tissue sampling.
Okay.
But they're able to, allegedly, they're able to track how many pounds of nutrients for each nutrient that plant actually uptook.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not a parts per million or a percent. It's okay. This many pounds went into this plant.
Into this many bushels or whatever the output.
Well, so it, just at the beginning, it's just this corn took in 210 pounds of nitrogen. Okay. Well, he applied 250, so maybe we over applied a little bit. But then they're able to, with like an R5 sample, they're able to take what they tracked in season through that tissue sample and say, this is how much actually went into the grain.
Yeah.
And this is how much is left in the stover. And we have old university data for that. But
it needs to be redone.
I'm really excited for that, because I think, I talk with a lot of different companies, and I hear a lot of very, very, smart people talk about different technologies. But at the end of the day, I think we almost just need to take it back apart, figure out how this plant's actually working, because there's a lot that we don't know yet. And I think that's one thing I'm excited about trialing this year is, can we really, and reliably track where nutrients are ending up at the end of the day. I know Randy Dowdy used to always say in that Next Level group, or Total Acre now, how many pounds of nitrogen does it actually take to make a bushel of corn? And it's like, well, and the real answer is like, well, it depends.
Oh yeah.
Yes. But when he asked that in front of a large group of customers, it's, they didn't know what to say. Like, they wanted to say 1.1. It's like, well, now we know it's a little bit lower than that, but that's just what we applied. We don't know how much is actually
getting in there. Correct.
And that's where I'm excited about RDXN and a couple of your other products is, can we up that efficiency of what we're already applying? Okay. So there's multiple different ways to look at that. It's maybe we don't need to decrease what we're applying, but maybe we can apply what we already are and get a yield bump from it by, decreasing the energy the plant has to expend to convert that into a usable form. Or maybe we can reduce. Maybe where, okay, this is our yield goal for whatever other condition. Maybe it's limited water, maybe it's soil type. I can cut back on, a nutrient. We'll just stick with nitrogen for our example, but maybe I can cut back on my nitrogen use. And this RAM technology will actually help the nitrogen I'm applying be more efficient in the plant, and where I'll end up getting the same result.
Yes.
And that's where that makes perfect sense when you think about it like that. A lot of farmers, I think, are trained to think like, oh, if I'm cutting something back, like
I'm going to lose.
To fool me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I always talk reallocation. Mm-hmm. So I'm not necessarily reducing. I'm reallocating certain units then to make a clearer picture later. I'm being more reactive than instead of like proactive. So I'm not putting all of my eggs into one basket knowing that there could be potential changes later in the season. I'm reallocating some of those dollars, utilizing certain technologies or testing tools or what I've learned in the past to be able to say, hey, I can do this much here. I feel comfortable, but then I'm going to take those units and I'm going to reallocate those into a different growth stage or a different timing or a different way of applicating, because then I can find efficiencies in there based upon what the crop is telling me. That's what we are trying to do here, and that's where I think agriculture has gotten to. We just want to shove it down its throat, and then it needs to do what we need to do. So over-muscling these crops. Right. Let's just reallocate our thoughts, let's reallocate our dollars, and let's reallocate our time a little differently. Mm-hmm. That's where we can find efficiency.
Right. How long, I know I'm going to get this question from guys, so how long does the RAM molecule work in the plant with the enzyme? I mean, is it active all year? Does it phase out after 90 days?
We have roughly tested it to 90 days for it. So when we're talking RDXN with growers, when I'm talking to them, I say, what is your normal, just grower standard practice on when you put nitrogen on? Because I want to look for earliest and largest. That's when that concentration is hitting that plant as hard as possible. That's when I can do one of two things: reallocate those units to a different application pass and make the nitrogen they put on more readily available, not readily available, more efficient through metabolism of that plant. And then I can go down the path of saying, okay, this is when I need to put RDXN on. I need to keep that nitrate reductase enzyme as high as possible through there. Because what we've seen is the higher the nitrogen applications, so we see a spike, then all of a sudden it sloughs off. We're not utilizing every unit of nitrogen as efficiently. If I can keep that as high as possible, that's great. So I might put it on at planting time, and then I might come back with a side dress or wide drop. I might chemigate it on a little bit because my nitrogen, I've found efficiencies through reallocation of how many times I put nitrogen on. That's kind of a, the spoon feeding effect. Mm-hmm. I think spoon feeding is where we found efficiency. Now we need to find efficiency in every unit that we're putting on. So 90 days, if we have another high shot of nitrogen, we need to buffer that concentration of nitrogen we put on there through the metabolism of it. So that's another time we put RDXN on. But I'm not recommending anything over 32 ounces the entire season, like total. So I might put a 16 shot on early and a 16 shot on at wide drop. We are just simply trying to get down to plant physiology and turn that enzyme on.
Yeah, so that's enough to get that plant working like it should, to balance it out.
But if you're at 1-to-1 on your nitrogen use efficiency, knowing that there are some efficiencies that can already be taken by how much it's actually taking up,
right,
through what you talked about, if we can bring that number down, then we don't have to buffer it as much. I mean, there's growers I'm working with that are 0.3, 0.4. I'm sure you got those too.
Yeah, that's kind of a whole nother conversation.
It's a deeper one. There's nuance to that one.
What I don't like is when I have a farmer from Iowa tell me I'm at 0.4 NUE, or maybe and usually they're promoting a product, but it's like, I was able to reduce 100 pounds of nitrogen and not drop yield.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that means you were over applying that much. But let's compare apples to apples here. Okay. When I say NUE, I'm talking about the synthetic nitrogen I'm applying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think we all know that should be around that, 0.1 to 1. Okay. When you get into that 0.3, it's not that it took you less nitrogen and you just magically created more corn, but you have 4% organic matter soils. Okay. So
you got release,
look, Mr. Farmer,
mineralization.
that's 115 pounds of free nitrogen you're getting. You cannot factor that into NUE.
And I also manured it the last 6 years.
Yeah, or
they
manure.
leave that out.
Yeah, I've got 100 pounds of residual nitrogen.
Yes.
It's like, look at my NUE. It's
yes.
Like, I know guys in this area that raised 100 bushel Milo last year on 0 pounds of nitrogen.
Correct.
Well, it still came from somewhere.
That's
so
right.
That's what's deceiving, I think, and maybe misleads some people when they're reading, I'm at 0.4 NUE on social media, and it's like, well, you got to take into account your 4% organic matter. So it still took nitrogen.
Yes. Yes.
Obviously, a lot harder to measure. Well, did you get 15 pounds per percent of organic matter, or maybe you got 25, because mineralization is very dependent on weather. We don't get the same amount of mineralization every year. So that's the one side comment I wanted to make on the NUE, though, is like, okay, it means different things to different people too.
And maybe we should take NUE and start talking nutrient use efficiency, not just tying it to nitrogen, tying it to all the other nutrients that are out there. And I think that's the path that you're taking for it. It's like, how much did I apply? How much am I getting into the crop? How much is actually paying me back? Because that's at the end of the day with it.
Well, we talk about that all the time with 1034. It's like, it's just been the old standard co-op recommendation to throw 20 gallons of 1034 in the strip till. Like, you need phos if you're shooting for 250 bushel corn.
100 to 120 bucks an acre on that.
I mean, but it's a lot of phosphorus that's not actually going to get into the plant.
Not that year, at least. Right. But we apply it every single year, and then we wonder why our phosphorus levels have gone up in our soils for so long. Right. And then we talk removal rates, and then we talk, we're going to mine the soil. It's all complete to me. But and we fix a lot of nitrogen from the atmosphere. We don't even account for that. Yeah. We don't have near enough conversation about how much nitrogen we can fix from the atmosphere. That is probably a lot larger factor than most growers can understand. Yeah. But it's not going to if we keep applying nitrogen at the levels of 1.1, 1.2. It's not going to do it because it's swimming in nitrogen already. Why would it fix it? It's already oxidative stress. So I think the lower we go, the more nitrogen we're going to fix out of the atmosphere. So it's like I said, what we've learned in the past is teachings for us right now. We just blew through past it and didn't want to, listen to it. Because it worked for so long. Every unit of nitrogen increased bushels. I'm not discounting that. But we are seeing a downtick in nitrogen applied across the United States, and also still a 45-degree increase in yields. Just, you showed me that. It was amazing.
Right.
That's what we need to look at. Now, I appreciate you showing me and your growers that, like, hey, let's take a step back. It's going to be fine. We're doing good. But what also came out of that for me was the volatility.
Right.
There's a lot more volatility now.
Good point. Yeah, a lot more volatility. What do you think causes that?
Oh, jeez. How much time we got? I mean, there's so many different factors.
We're out of time, but
there's so many different factors that, I think, I don't want to get on this, so it's not a soapbox, and I don't want to get political, but I do think that weather is becoming more volatile. And I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that's the factor. I think that's number one, the largest percentage of that volatility that's there. Look at a ratio goes through Iowa, all of a sudden we lose quite a bit of bushels.
Right. I think another aspect could be fewer acres, just in general. Okay, so we've got fewer acres, so we've got less of a land span providing us those U.S. totals of however billions of bushels,
Yeah.
But every acre is higher. So if something happens to 1,000 acres now, it's a lot more bushels than if something happened to 1,000 acres back, 50 years ago when, we were happy with 130 bushel corn.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm genuinely curious about what your answer is to this one. How do they find 1.5 million acres in this last USDA report? Yeah. But they keep harping that urban sprawl is going crazy. How do those two true at the same time?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it is crop switch. And I know, just talking to my customers, because we have a lot of those same conversations, and there's several of them that I don't think answer very honestly on some of those calls. There's some guys that do, but some of them are, average yields is going to be 200, and then in October it's 260.
And I wouldn't trust the USDA in the first place anyways, so I'm not knocking them. I'm just generally curious.
I probably wouldn't tell them the truth either. God, but I think, or even crop switches too. I think it's when you look at 92 million acres across the country, planted throughout basically 7 months. I mean, that's what's crazy is I recorded an episode with Reed Abbott, our agri-liquid agronomist, the other day, and he said in southern Texas, they're already, well, they're past tassel now. That was a couple weeks ago. So it's like you've got a very long growing season, or several different growing seasons in our geography in the United States. That probably has some play in those numbers too.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I don't think anyone's trying to mess with, or anyone in the USDA is wanting to report wrongly. I guess I don't really buy in on that. There's some kind of ulterior motive there.
I hate
for
being the
USDA to screw
conspiracy
us
guy.
over.
I hate
know.
being the guy.
I don't think
tinfoil hat on now. I mean,
I don't know how they get as close as they do.
I don't know how they can.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we want it to be so binary, and I don't think it is, but that's where the mistrust comes from. And I think there's just a lot of mistrust because it's meant to be accurate, but I don't necessarily think that it is, but then it influences markets so heavily. I mean, when you're with growers and all of a sudden they're like, hey, I'm going to take this at 25 when it goes up and it goes down 25, it's like, how did the growers not know? Or how is it so bad on that last one?
Oh yeah.
It's just, I don't know. That one sticks with me too much. I mean, it's just, yeah.
I think a lot of it really is. I mean, so many different factors that we don't always know about, and things look like a coincidence, or maybe a little bit too much like a coincidence all the time in life. I guess what I personally try to do is not blame it on anybody else but myself. And I mean, I try to do that within my business too. It's like if there's a mistake made or a load taken wrong or loaded wrong, and it's like, well, it's on me. It's my communication system that evidently my system's not good enough for, getting that load out. So what can I be better? Like, I don't have to accuse an employer of not paying attention or doing something wrong. It's like, and I think we do always like to point the finger. I think just by nature. So I think it's easy to, when we miss market grain, this is going to be unpopular, but when we miss market grain, a lot of times it's easy to blame it on somebody else. And it's like, well, what could you have done? Because at the end of the day, it does all come back to the decision maker.
It does.
So
it's accountability.
Yep.
And it sometimes you just want a scapegoat. And I think we just have to. Nobody that goes, 97% of the people that go to Vegas actually lose on this because the odds are against them in the first place. But they only hear about the ones that make all the money doing it. But they never listen to the ones that actually lose all the money too. It's sensationalism. So it's just, I think we're incrementally getting better in agriculture, but the chaos is also increasing.
yeah.
The confusion is also increasing. So take a step back, figure out what you believe, what are the concepts that you have, and then work upon those to build your data set. Whatever crop that they're growing, whatever way that they want to do it. That I think is where we need to get to in the next 5 years. That's the steps we need to take. Just take a step back.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think that's a good note to end it on. So thanks a lot, Zach, for coming on. And like always, you can find us on YouTube.
Yep.
All our episodes are on our website as well, and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So until next time.